Hello, welcome to Armchair Sports Talk Football. And today we're talking about the NFC East. Today's 10-minute topic, we're going to go over the NFC East, starting from the worst team to the best team, and we'll cover their win total, which way we think will go, and we'll go over some players to watch. NFC East. Let's start at the bottom. The bottom is clearly going to be the New York Giants. They drafted Eli Manning and his doppelganger for what reason, I'm not exactly sure. They actually reached to get him too. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy. He's probably had a pretty good preseason, all things being considered. But the Giants aren't really worth watching. They lost Odell Beckham Jr. They brought in Saquon Barkley, which is a nice piece to build around. But unfortunately, they gave up some of their defense. They hung on to an aging quarterback. I don't know if they know what's going on with their coaching staff because they seem like they're all on different pages. So with that in mind, I kind of look to the younger players. So I think they're going to go under their 6-game projected win total. In fact, I think that's rather high. I'm not exactly sure how they would get to 6. I think they're a 5-win team. That's the optimistic. I think they're probably closer to a 3 or 4-win team. Eli probably gets benched halfway through the season. His arm was starting to go 2 seasons ago. They let him ride it out one more year last year, then they bring him back again. So it is going to be interesting. But my player to watch is a young Cody Latimer. He's the wide receiver that you didn't know of, and he's had a lot of opportunity. Sterling Shepard should be back after a broken thumb, and Cody Latimer finds himself as the number 2 wide receiver behind Golden Tate. Golden Tate serving a 4-game suspension for alleged PED use. I believe he had his appeal already, and they said, we're going to uphold the 4 games. So Cody Latimer is a highly invested wide receiver from the Broncos, and I guess things didn't work out there. They have their own people that they're trying to look at, so he was able to make his way over to the Giants. And he's got pretty good size, pretty good speed. He's not really a slot receiver, but he can work inside and outside, and they don't really have many outside receivers. So just that flexibility should lead him to be on the field. So if he's on the field for the first 4 games with Golden Tate's out, and let's say they go 0-4, not out of the realm of possibility. When Golden Tate comes back, they know what they have in Golden Tate. They don't know what they have in Cody Latimer. So they might want to see him play a full season as a starting wide receiver. So if you get that in the NFL, you can pick him up later in the rounds if you're drafting, or if we're talking about daily fantasy, his price tag should be low, at least in the first week or 2. So that's my assessment of the Giants. They're going to unfortunately be at the bottom of the NFC East is how I look at it. But not too far behind. They should be right there with the Washington Redskins, who are also projected for 6 wins. They drafted Dwayne Haskins. I believe he's a junior as well. And they brought in Case Keenum, who had a really good season with Minnesota 2 years ago, but unfortunately kind of plays more like a career backup, kind of similar like a Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe like he's the second coming of Ryan Fitzpatrick, which I guess is enough to get you a couple paychecks. But the Washington Redskins projected for 6 wins. I see the same thing here. They do have a pretty good defense, actually. So while I want to push, I would actually just lean towards slightly to the under. 5-11, but really I could see 6-10 is they're pretty right on the number here. The players to watch is not the quarterback, because I just mentioned 2 of them. So when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks is how that saying goes. They're a little crowded in the backfield. I don't mind Darius Geis. He's coming off of injury from last preseason. They've babied him, so hopefully that's just precautionary and not because the rehab's going poorly. But with the muddled backfield, backfield both running back and quarterback, I look at the wide receiver. That's where I look for my player to watch. I was going back and forth because I think Trey Quinn is their slot receiver. I think he has the term of Mr. Irrelevant. I think he was the last pick in the 7th round of the draft. But I'm going to go with Paul Richardson. They did some investment 2 seasons ago, and Paul Richardson just had a really bad injury-riddled 2018 season. So I think this year they're going to really try to see what they have in him, and if he's going to be part of their wide receiver core moving forward. And to start, he's number 1. He's their number 1 wide receiver. He's going to be running their deep routes. He's going to be getting some screen. He's the guy that they're going to be trying to get the ball to. And if you know anything about me, my little success with DraftKings that I had a couple years ago, the best time I guess I had. And Paul Richardson was on my team. It was that shootout with the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks up in Seattle. and Paul Richardson was a key part of that. So he definitely has the skill set. He's got the speed, the size. He's done it before, and albeit very limited production and opportunity. But with the Redskins probably playing from behind, I actually do like Paul Richardson a lot. Not so much season long, maybe because of the injury history. We don't know if he can go a whole season, but definitely in the early part of daily fantasy as we get a little closer, we'll start name dropping a few players to watch. The Dallas Cowboys are projected for 9 wins. I guess that number is kind of hedging if Ezekiel Elliott comes back or not. I think that's a pretty good number. If he doesn't come back, they're probably going to be under the 6-win total. If he comes back early enough, I could see them going over. So I don't know. I think recently I heard where Jerry Jones threw a little shade Zeke's way, and I don't know how that was going to go over. You can get into the specifics. I think he was just asked about Zeke Elliott, and he said who. So it was hilarious. And I don't think Zeke's going to appreciate that too much. And the running backs behind him, they have some talent. They drafted a running back with some, upside, and his name escapes me right now. But so it's going to be a mix of players. It's not anything to write home about. So my player to watch is going to be the guy who asked for $14 million a year, Dak Prescott. That's a lot of pressure, especially when it gets out that you turn down and ask for more money. I considered him an average quarterback. I'm not going to say he was below average and try to slam him or anything like that, but he turned down a lot of money. So Dak Prescott kind of put the spotlight on himself. And with no Zeke Elliott potentially, it'll be interesting to see because he's playing for a contract. He did show up for camp unlike Zeke Elliott, so there's credit where I'm giving credit where credit's due. He is a great college football player. I just say because I'm very shocked and surprised he went this route. He's put the weight of the world on his shoulders, so maybe he knows something I don't, and maybe he is not given enough credit. So I actually do want to watch Dak Prescott and see what he's able to do if he's going to have to carry this franchise all season. So I'm leaning towards Zeke Elliott not coming back, at least maybe until week 4 or 5. And just like with all the timing throwing off and the win total, I think Dak Prescott will get his time to shine because they're going to be playing from behind a lot. And, maybe Zeke doesn't even come back at all. So I got the Le'Veon Bell. I'm a little shy about him not returning and him being on my roster. So that's not a good feeling to have. We go to the best team in the NFC East. I think everyone's in consensus here for the most part. The Philadelphia Eagles have a 9.5 game win total. I think what they did here in looking at these win totals, if you go purely off the talent of the teams, there should be more wins allocated to the top half and fewer wins to the bottom half. So what that tells me is they're just acknowledging the fact that the NFC East year in and year out is a very competitive division when they play each other. I don't know what it is. Maybe they don't like each other a lot more than the other teams within their division, but you have upsets all the time between these teams, and it just looks like they kind of bunched them all together. But if we're looking at talent level, the Eagles and the Cowboys are significantly above the Redskins and the Giants, and of course that means that Ezekiel Elliott is back with the Cowboys in that scenario. But let's say he's not back, the Eagles could easily run away with this. So 9.5 wins is nothing. We have too many players to go over, in fact. So I'll just acknowledge their centerpiece, Carson Wentz. He is the quarterback who will be throwing to Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Of course, they brought in Jordan Howard. Not really a receiving threat. They drafted a running back. They bring back Darren Sproles for another year. They still have guys from last year who produced, and Wendell Smallwood and Josh Adams. They're going to have to make some cuts. That's how much talent they have on this team. So when you're trying to figure out where the ball is going to go, instead of trying to make a guess and figure, oh, hey, I got lucky, I was right, let's look at the guy who's throwing the ball to all these players, and that's Carson Wentz. He's had some injuries in the past, so it was a pretty easy pick, and hopefully is not looked at as me taking the easy way out. But let's give credit to the guy who's got to get the ball to all these players and going up against a division that is a little overhyped as far as the win total. So I really like the over 9.5 wins for the Eagles. Their defense is very sound as well. We know their head coach is more than capable of winning the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, earning him his nickname. And Carson Wentz, I don't know if you can come up with something as catchy as Big Dick Nick. I don't think there's anything there for that. But Carson Wentz can earn his own bragging rights in other regards with his performance on the field. So Recapping the NFC East, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, comfortably going to go over their 9.5 projected game win total. The Cowboys are really hit or miss, depending if Zeke Elliott plays or not. At this point, this game of cat and mouse has gone so far. I'm leaning towards he doesn't come back for week 1, which of course puts them under that 9-game win total, in my opinion. And then you got the Redskins and the Giants, I think both under 6, with players to watch being Carson Wentz for the Eagles, Dak Prescott for the Cowboys, Paul Richardson for the Redskins, and then Cody Latimer for the Giants. So I'm Sterling with Armchair Sports Talk. Thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoy. We'll see you next time.